Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be looking at some characters, shows, and stars in a totally different light. This thanks to everything that we now know about them. And we're starting with some songs that have since become disturbing.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for pieces of music that, in light of dark events that occurred after their release, now induce chills. Number 10, Bump and Grind, R. Kelly.
My body's telling me yes.
Any song that begins with those lyrics would be considered to have aged like milk. However, when you take into account singer Kelly's literal decades of misconduct allegations, the lyrics to Bump and Grind take on an entirely new context that would churn the stomach of even the most hardened listener.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
Originally acquitted in 2008 of misconduct charges involving minors, Kelly was sentenced to 31 years in prison following convictions in 2021 and 23. Kelly's self-admitted inability to control his inhibitions on Bump and Grind now leaves listeners hitting skip.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. This is not about music.
After the premiere of Surviving R. Kelly in 2019, Lady Gaga scrubbed a version of her 2013 hit Do You Want that featured Kelly from streaming services. Good call.
Do what you want with me, what you want with my body.
Number 9, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, Mike Posner.
I took a pill in Ibiza to show Avicii I was cool.
Posner's tropical dance floor anthem is already a deceptively dark song. Its shockingly blunt lyrics find the Cooler Than Me singer lamenting on the hollow nature of fame and the stark realization that money and material possessions won't make you happy.
That's what I Took a Pill in Ibiza is about. I say I'm just a singer who already blew his shot. I get along with old timers because my name's a reminder of a pop song people forgot.
The song's chorus, however, is where things really start to become eerie. It name drops the late producer Avicii and, according to Posner, refers to a real-life incident in which he follows the Swedish DJ to the titular island and succumbed to peer pressure. Tragically, Avicii, born Tim Bergling, took his own life in 2018, reportedly following years-long struggles with addiction. Knowing that turns a cautionary tale into an uneasy, unintentional tribute.
Point being, he never cared, unlike almost everybody in the music industry, he never cared if I was number one or number a million.
Number 8, 2009, Mac Miller.
I ain't asking why no more. Oh no, I take it if it's mine. I don't stay inside the lines, it ain't.
Hip-hop fans were hit hard in September 2018 when Pittsburgh native Miller, born Malcolm McCormick, passed away from a drug overdose. Those same fans were also quick to point out that Miller had never shied away from addressing themes of addiction and depression in his music. In particular, they looked to 2009, the penultimate song on his 2018 album, Swimming, Miller's last before 2020's posthumous Circles.
I was digging me a hole, big enough to bury my soul. Weight of the world, I gotta carry my own.
The song alludes to Miller's difficulty with his rapid rise to fame. The title is a reference to the release year of his first mixtapes. Over a gentle, twinkling beat, Miller rap sings about using to ease his pain, and most heartbreakingly of all, argues that an angel's supposed to fly.
He saved me in many ways that I couldn't save myself. He helped me with my depression, my anxieties.
Number 7, I Need a Girl Part 2, P. Diddy.
Potential wife credentials, know about the life I'm into, life I've been through, and how I had a trifling mental.
Not unlike Bump and Grind, the lyrics to the sequel to I Need a Girl Part 1 probably elicited cringe from listeners at the time, in this case, the year 2002. Written and co-produced by Sean P. Diddy Combs himself, The song raises eyebrows more than once. Did Puffy just compare the love of his life to a brother? And for that matter, why are these brothers doing that? The chorus will definitely make you wince, too. While I Need a Girl, the second, was already uncomfortable enough, that feeling doubled after Combs was hit with multiple misconduct and assault lawsuits at the end of 2023.
Combs is the subject of a federal investigation following a wave of lawsuits that have been filed against him.
Number 6, That'll Be the Day, Buddy Holly. February 3rd, 1959 is known as the day the music died for a reason. That was the day the three rock and roll legends met a tragic and storied end when their plane crashed in Iowa. They were Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper J.P. Richardson.
The locals in the town were sitting around a black and white TV in the lobby, and they said, 3 rock and roll artists die in plane crash. And it was all over the news.
The man born Charles Hardin Holly had only relatively recently made his major label breakthrough album, That'll Be the Day. That album's title track was a massive hit within the final year of Holly's life.
You say you're gonna leave, you know it's a lie, 'cause that'll be the day when I die.
Its chorus, detailing Holly's confidence that his relationship will never end, became tragically ironic following that plane crash, when in reality his wife, Maria Elena, was widowed.
I knew that if I would have been there, but it would have not taken the plane, because I would have put my foot down and said no.
Number 5, New Dawn Fades, Joy Division. One of the literal progenitors of the gothic rock subgenre, it goes without saying that Joy Division songs are already pretty spooky to begin with. Singer Ian Curtis, plagued by mental health and substance use disorder issues, took his own life on the 18th of May in 1980, aged only 23. Curtis's songwriting tackled these topics head-on, and this is no more apparent than on New Dawn Fades. Over a plodding drum beat that supports a fuzzy Black Sabbath-tinged guitar riff, Curtis bears his soul about his total hopelessness in that unique baritone. Number 4, Legends, Juice WRLD.
I usually have an answer to the question, but this time I'm gonna be quiet. This time.
Jared Higgins, better known to the general public as Juice WRLD, was plagued by similar issues to Mac Miller. Higgins, a major proponent of the 2010s emo rap scene, was perhaps even more unflinchingly honest about his substance use problem. A not so insignificant portion of his discography is devoted to this very topic. Legends, which appears on the artist's 2018 EP Too Soon, as well as his posthumous 2021 album Fighting Demons, makes chilling predictions to this effect. This is especially haunting when you consider that Higgins died in 2019 at the age of 21, exactly as the chorus of this song anticipates.
Was it 27 club? We ain't making it past 21.
Number 3, Rehab, Amy Winehouse.
Tried to make me go to rehab. I said no, no, no.
Amy Winehouse's once-in-a-lifetime talent was grounded in her attitude, her unwillingness to be anything but authentically herself. That meant writing songs that drew extensively from her tumultuous personal life, which was the subject of mass media coverage and public scrutiny in the 2000s. So much so that her first album was entitled simply Frank. The release of her second album, Back to Black, was preceded by the single Rehab, produced by Mark Ronson.
The man said, why do you think you hit?
The upbeat Motown-inspired tune, in Winehouse's characteristically uncompromising manner, details the artist's refusal to give in to the demands of those around her. The British songbird's 2011 passing, induced by alcohol poisoning, permanently lent Rehab an unsettling double meaning. Add Back to Black's title song for an extra dose of spookiness.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times.
Number 2, Come As You Are, Nirvana.
Come as you are, as you were.
It's no secret that Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain was a master of dark, unsettling songwriting. In fact, there were multiple examples that stood out to us. In particular, I Hate Myself and Want to Die, the title of which clashes with its irreverent, seemingly unrelated lyrics.
Running doesn't run the yoke. Even if you have a cold still.
Come As You Are adopts a similar tone, but takes on even more layers following Cobain's untimely end in 1994. Specifically, the song's verses consist of contradictory commands, and its bridge is Cobain declaring that he doesn't have a gun. Anyone with even a cursory knowledge of Nirvana's backstory can tell you precisely why this gives them goosebumps. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Leaving on a Jet Plane, John Denver, foreshadows the way Denver met his end in 1997.
I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again.
Pretty Noose, Soundgarden, same as John Denver, but for Chris Cornell in 2017. My Ding-a-Ling, Chuck Berry. A fairly creepy song even before considering Berry's numerous misconduct scandals.
Oh, my ding-a-ling, oh, I want you to play with my ding-a-ling. Sing!
Time in a Bottle, Jim Croce. Croce's final number 1 before his untimely passing is about not having enough time.
But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them.
Number 1, Look at Your Game Girl, Charles Manson.
Ah, those feelings real. Look at your game, girl.
You probably already have a pretty good idea as to how this song ended up on our list. Music producer Phil Kaufman met Charles Manson while the two were imprisoned at the same facility. The two became friends, and Kaufman later recorded Manson's debut album, Lie, the Love and Terror Cult, through 1967 into 68.
He used to call me occasionally, and the last time he called me, he was rambling on, and I said, Charlie, the difference between you and I is that you're doing life and I'm living it.
Among those songs was Look at Your Game Girl, an innocuous, simplistic folk song on the surface. Its lyrics have been re-examined in the wake of Manson's infamous 1969 crime spree.
What a mad delusion, living in that confusion.
In its review of the album, AllMusic described the song as embodying his fundamental approach to influencing young women by targeting their socially imposed hang-ups. Suddenly, Look at Your Game Girl isn't so innocuous.
Hope I haven't offended him. Those murderers are so, they're so touchy.
Which songs do you have a hard time listening to because of something terrible that's associated with them?
There's a whole lot more for me waiting on the other side.
It's time to switch the spotlight to the big screen, as these upcoming movie characters now give us chills, but for the wrong reasons.
I think maybe he should be taken to a doctor.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for movie characters that have aged poorly due to the controversy surrounding the actor or production of the film.
Well, you knew my history when you married me.
Yeah, I know. My analyst warned me, but you were so beautiful, and I got another analyst.
Number 10, Blade Trinity.
You know, at some point, you might want to consider sitting down with somebody. Have a little share time.
This series didn't end on the highest of notes, did it? Unfortunately, some of that is due to Blade himself, which makes rewatching this film kind of difficult. By all accounts, Wesley Snipes was an enormous pain in the you-know-what.
We were in Vancouver, and Wesley Snipes was going crazy, and he wouldn't come out of his trailer.
Director David S. Goyer has called shooting the film the most painful thing he's ever been through, which is largely due to Snipes' behavior. According to numerous stories, Snipes wouldn't talk to the cast or crew, spent much of his time getting high, became violent with Goyer, and hurled a racist slur at Ryan Reynolds. Following the movie's release, Snipes sued both New Line Cinema and Goyer, and he was sued by the United Talent Agency. So, yeah, not a great time.
This is awkward.
Number 9, Ed Rooney, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
If Ferris thinks that he can just coast through this month and still graduate, he is sorely mistaken.
Ed Rooney is one of those great teen movie villains, the representative of authoritarianism and conformity that tries to stop the freewheeling protagonist. Unfortunately, his character was utterly ruined once we learned more about Jeffrey Jones, the man who portrayed him.
And you insult me. What the hell is the matter with you anyway?
In 2002, the actor was charged with some crimes involving an underage individual, which puts his character as a school official into a new and entirely disturbing light. We can no longer watch his interactions with these young teens without thinking of Jones's real offenses, and it makes watching his scenes very difficult. As of 2021, Joan remains on the national list of registered offenders.
Excuse me. If whoever's in the house is still in the house, I'd like you to know that I've just called the police.
Number 8, Phil Connors, Groundhog Day.
These people are great. Some of them been partying all night long. They sing songs till they get too cold, and then they go sit by the fire and they get warm, and then they come back and they sing some more.
Yeah, they're Hicks, Rita.
We don't think Bill Murray had to do much acting in Groundhog Day. You know how Phil is a huge dink in the first half of the movie? By all accounts, that's how Murray actually was on set. He often clashed with director Harold Ramis over the direction of the film, had an enormous temper, physically assaulted Ramis, and was known to unleash curse-filled rants.
Don't mess with me, pork chop.
It was enough to ruin Murray's long relationship with Ramis, and the two would remain estranged for decades. Murray's behavior has been attributed to multiple causes, including the constant cold weather and his ongoing divorce from Margaret Kelly, both of which put a permanent damper on his mood.
That's for making me care about you.
Number 7, Music Gamble, Music.
People with disabilities for a very long time have not been represented on film or in TV.
For many, Music is one of the most miscalculated and offensive movies of the 2020s. To start with, Music Gamble is a nonverbal autistic girl played by Maddie Ziegler, a dancer who is both A, verbal, and B, not autistic. Even if you think that's not a problem, her portrayal of Music certainly was.
Arm, please. Arm. Thank you.
The film has been widely criticized for its harmful depiction of autism and the specific scene in which Music is restrained. Some have hilariously compared it to the fictional Tug Speedman playing Simple Jack in Tropic Thunder, and even those who call the movie well-intentioned admit that Ziegler's performance was misjudged.
I like to sing a song.
Can you hear me?
Magical song. Yeah, that's right.
Music.
Number 6, The Joker, Suicide Squad.
What do you got?
Got you a kitty.
So thoughtful.
The Joker is almost always a disturbing character, but this interpretation is made even more so thanks to the behavior of Jared Leto. Many people involved in the production report that Leto remained in character the whole time. We don't know about you, but spending your day with the Joker doesn't sound fun.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
But it gets worse. Leto reportedly sent a number of weird gifts to the cast and crew, including live rats and a dead pig, which one of his henchmen dropped on a table in the rehearsal room. Leto later defended his gifts and claimed that they were made in jest and exaggerated by the media. But tell that to Viola Davis, who called them horrific.
It's funny to see people get so worked up,
that
think that something actually happened that maybe didn't even happen.
Number 5, Wendy Torrance, The Shining.
Oh, come on, hon. Don't be so grouchy.
Stanley Kubrick was a notoriously difficult director, and his demands eventually got to Shelley Duvall on the set of The Shining. There have been many stories regarding Kubrick's treatment towards Duvall, some of which have been called exaggerated, but stories and video evidence corroborate that she had a tough time on set.
You're distracting me, and it will then take me time to get back to where I was.
Understand?
Vivian Kubrick's documentary shows Duvall often arguing with Kubrick, laying on the floor in total exhaustion, and even losing her hair from the constant stress. Jack Nicholson has also verified the stories, claiming that Kubrick was a different director with Duvall. She later told esteemed critic Roger Ebert that making the movie and working with Kubrick was almost unbearable.
From May until October, I was really in and out of ill health because the stress of the role was so great.
Number 4, Ted Kramer, Kramer vs. Kramer.
He looked at me and he slapped me as hard as he could.
Who? Dustin?
Dustin.
Dustin Hoffman may have won an Oscar for playing Ted Kramer, but watching his performance now is more difficult thanks to some worrying behind-the-scenes stories. According to Meryl Streep, working with Hoffman was an absolutely miserable experience, an experience filled with physical violence, verbal abuse, and even sexual assault.
I'm sorry.
No, don't make me go in there, please. Please don't make me go in there. Don't make me go in there.
According to Streep, Hoffman groped her breast during their very first meeting, but this story was later rescinded by one of her representatives. He also slapped her during a scene and taunted her with the recent death of her fiancé, John Cazale, who died of cancer just 1 year before the movie's release.
He did it off screen and then.
Nowadays, if he was doing that, someone would be filming it on a mobile phone nearby, you know.
He'd be sued, baby. He'd be in the court.
Number 3, Oliver, Call Me By Your Name.
It means we can't talk about those kinds of things. Okay?
It's hard to separate art from the artist, and sometimes that makes watching beloved movies really hard. Such is the case with Call Me By Your Name, an acclaimed film starring Armie Hammer. Hammer was on the rise in 2017, and this movie raised his stock even higher, earning him a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
But that stock plummeted in 2021 when multiple women accused Hammer of abuse. One of the women entered a program for treating PTSD, and multiple have accused Hammer of violent assaults and harboring disturbing fantasies. Hammer has since quit acting, and while he has denied the criminal elements of the story, he has admitted that he was emotionally abusive towards his partners.
So it was weird. I remember being like, are we flirting or is this scary?
Number 2, Isaac Davis, Manhattan.
In the series, Dylan, now 35 years old, said she believes Alan was grooming her from early childhood.
Really, we could have put any Woody Allen character on this list, but we're going with Isaac Davis due to some unfortunate comparisons to Alan's real life. Isaac is a 42-year-old comedy writer dating a 17-year-old named Tracy. It's a disturbing character beat, even though their problematic age difference is directly addressed in the story.
She's got homework. I'm dating a girl who does homework.
While this wasn't much of a problem at the time, Isaac's character has since come into question thanks to the horrific allegations that have been made against Alan regarding Dylan Farrow, his and Mia Farrow's adopted daughter. There's also the fact that he married Soon-Yi Previn, another adopted daughter of Mia Farrow. Their relationship began in 1991 when Alan was 56 and Previn just 21.
And now Alan confirms he is having an affair with Farrow's adopted daughter, who's 21 years old.
Number 1, Lester Burnham, American Beauty.
I'm still a little weirded out, but I feel better.
Just like Woody Allen, we could have put any Kevin Spacey role on this list. But again, we're going with Lester Burnham because of some tragic real-world analogs. Spacey won an Oscar for playing Lester, an unhappy middle-aged man who begins lusting after a friend of his teenage daughter.
I was hoping you'd give me a bath. Very, very dirty.
At the time, many people related to Lester and his midlife crisis, but now, many viewers find him creepy, as the parallels with Spacey's infamous assault allegations are just way too similar to be comfortable. This includes his lusting after an underage girl, which bears some similarities to the story Anthony Rapp has alleged.
The actor says he felt compelled to share his story now after so many women came forward with accusations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein.
Do these stories ruin the character for you?
We've met before, but something tells me you're going to remember me this time.
Warning, this next list is guaranteed to make you cringe. That's because it contains some seemingly normal celebrity interviews that have since turned disturbing thanks to our current knowledge.
Am I right or wrong? Look at her. How am I supposed to do this interview? Look at this woman.
Tell me your story.
She's so beautiful.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're counting down our picks for the most notable celebrity interviews that were seemingly innocent but have since been cast in a disturbing light due to shifts in public opinion or controversies involving either the interviewer or interviewee.
Come on, no, that's the way to do it right there. Come on.
Number 20, Justin Roiland. You might not be familiar with his name, but you definitely recognize his voice. Justin Roiland rose to prominence as the co-creator and voice behind the main characters of the hit animated sitcom Rick and Morty.
Oh, Morty. Oh, Morty. Help me, Morty. Help me, Rick.
In 2023, however, Roiland was fired from the show following accusations of sexual misconduct and predatory behavior towards minors. As the scandal unfolded, a 2011 episode of his podcast, the Grandma's Virginity Podcast, resurfaced, in which Roiland made troubling remarks about being attracted to minors.
Look, because I don't break the law. I would never break the law.
Many perceived these comments as confirmation of the allegations against him. While he was initially cleared of criminal charges, Roiland faced a barrage of new sexual assault allegations later that year, all of which he vehemently denied. Number 19, Chris D'Elia. In 2020, comedian and actor Chris D'Elia was accused of sexual harassment and predatory behavior. It was alleged that he had solicited explicit pictures from his accusers, sometimes via Snapchat. After the allegations became public, an old clip from D'Elia's appearance on the podcast The Fighter and the Kid resurfaced. In it, the discussion centered around a high school teacher who was caught sending inappropriate photos of herself to her student on Snapchat.
She sent it through Snapchat. Why does she have her student Snapchat?
Yeah, well, that's weird, yeah.
This initially puzzles D'Elia, as he was of the impression that such images disappeared. But his confusion quickly morphs into astonishment when he learns that content on Snapchat can actually be saved.
Snapchat goes away, right?
He probably saved it. You can screen record, take screenshots.
Wow.
For some, it appeared the comedian realized the potential consequences for his own alleged actions. Number 18, Courtney Love. In 2017, Hollywood was rocked by numerous sexual assault allegations against movie producer Harvey Weinstein. While these claims stunned the world, they seem to already be common knowledge within the entertainment industry. This was evident in a 2005 red carpet interview with Courtney Love at the Comedy Central roast of Pamela Anderson. When asked what advice she had for aspiring actresses in Hollywood, Love warned them to steer clear of Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party and Four Seasons downtown.
Following the resurgence of this video, Love disclosed on Twitter that she was essentially blacklisted by the talent firm Creative Artists Agency for speaking out against Weinstein. It may have taken years, but her warnings were eventually vindicated.
Please don't sentence me to life in prison, he told the court.
Number 17, Melissa Benoist. Supergirl star Melissa Benoist appeared on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon in 2016, where she shared a story about a home accident. She recounted how she tripped down a flight of stairs and injured her eye by crashing into a potted plant.
And I slipped and fell and hit my eye on a potted plant.
Despite the lighthearted delivery, it later emerged that the entire incident was fabricated. In 2019, Benoist bravely disclosed her experience as a survivor of domestic violence by an unnamed former partner. She then described a particular incident that was remarkably similar to the staircase mishap, admitting that she had made up the story to evade suspicion.
We made up a flimsy story together. I had tripped and fallen on the stairs of our deck and hit my face on a potted plant.
Revisiting the interview, it's distressing to think of the pain she was concealing behind her smile.
And I hope that telling my story might help prevent more stories like mine from happening.
Number 16, Corey Feldman. Former child actor Corey Feldman has consistently claimed that he and his fellow star, Corey Haim, experienced harassment from top Hollywood figures early in their careers. In 2013, Feldman revisited the issue during an interview on The View, where he cautioned parents about the potential dangers of putting their kids in show business.
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Co-host Barbara Walters promptly rebuked Feldman for his comments, accusing him of harming the reputation of the industry.
You're damaging an entire industry.
Although the interview soon faded from public consciousness, it re-emerged in 2017 amid the Me Too movement, which shed light on widespread sexual misconduct in Hollywood. Walters was heavily criticized for what appeared to be her disregard for the risks faced by child actors in the industry. Number 15, Vin Diesel. In December 2023, action star Vin Diesel was sued by his former assistant, Asta Jonassen, who accused him of sexual battery in retaliation. Jonassen alleged that Diesel sexually assaulted her while filming Fast 5 and then fired her, claiming she was, quote, no longer useful. These accusations brought renewed attention to a little-known interview the actor had done in 2016. Diesel was promoting his film XXX Return of Xander Cage and spoke with Brazilian YouTuber Carol Moreira.
God, you're so beautiful. God, she's so beautiful, man.
During the interview, he quickly became enamored with Moreira, hitting on her relentlessly and preventing her from doing her job.
Look how beautiful she is. You guys think it's a joke. How am I supposed to sit over here when I'm looking at such beauty?
Moreira later admitted that she was, quote, completely uncomfortable with the actor's advances, which is pretty obvious just from watching the clip.
Guys, what's wrong? Am I the only one that's saying it? Look at her.
Number 14, Louis C.K. The comedian Louis C.K. was one of several industry heavyweights who was accused of sexual misconduct in late 2017. 5 women came forward claiming that he'd exposed himself to them. C.K. later admitted to the allegations and issued an apology, stating that he had, quote, wielded his power irresponsibly.
I want to address the stories told to the New York Times by 5 women. These stories are true.
This revelation prompted scrutiny of CK's previous stand-up material and interviews, some of which shared troubling connections to the real-life allegations. In particular, it cast a disturbing light on a 2012 interview the comedian granted to Vanity Fair. When asked about what trait he most deplores about himself, CK responded with an unsettling reference to his genitals. Number 13, Gina Davis and Bill Murray. In 1990, Gina Davis and Bill Murray co-starred in the crime comedy film Quick Change, which Murray also co-directed. The film drew attention in 2022 when Davis accused Murray of sexually assaulting her during her audition.
I said no multiple times, but he wouldn't relent.
Those claims were seemingly confirmed by the actor, not in 2022, but back when the two appeared on the Arsenio Hall show to promote the film. Throughout the interview, Murray repeatedly strokes Davis's arm and at one point even pulls down the strap of her dress, much to Davis's discomfort.
He touched you a lot in the audition?
Yeah.
The actress recounted the claims during the interview, albeit in a more humorous manner. But in light of her 2022 allegations, there's no way to look at that clip without feeling creeped out.
She's really a very nice person. And get a load of the dress.
Number 12, Jimmy Savile. While still alive, Jimmy Savile was a widely beloved English media personality, having hosted the BBC's Top of the Pops show for years. However, it wasn't until after his death that his true nature came to light. An ITV documentary revealed that Savile was a serial sexual predator, with victims potentially numbering in the hundreds. Savile was able to disguise behind his playful character, but he seemingly dropped clues about his reprehensible actions.
You also used to be a wrestler, is that right?
Still am.
Still am?
I'm fit in every girls' school in Britain.
In this 1999 appearance on the BBC show Have I Got News for You, Savile alluded to his predatory behavior by phrasing it as a joke.
You used to be a wrestler, didn't you? Is that right?
I still am.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fit in every girls' school in this country.
Although some of the allegations against him emerged while he was still alive, Savile managed to deflect them using similar tactics.
What do you do in the caravan?
Anybody I can lay my hands on.
Number 11, R. Kelly. To be fair, this interview was disturbing even back when it was made. In 2008, R. Kelly sat down with BET reporter Touré. Earlier that year, the singer had been acquitted in a trial centered around his possession of highly inappropriate material.
Well, those people that don't know Robert, they don't know me.
Touré bluntly asked Kelly if he was attracted to minors. Instead of a flat-out negative response, Kelly asked for further clarification, which was just as bad as answering in the affirmative.
When you say teenage, how are we talking?
Even with such an inappropriate response, the interview had no significant consequences on his career. It would take a little over a decade with the release of the 2019 docuseries Surviving R. Kelly for this interview to take on an even more troubling layer.
I know a lot of people be out to get me because I'm very vulnerable, man.
Number 10, David Letterman. The 2021 documentary Framing Britney Spears sparked online discussions about the media's treatment of female celebrities. Amid that backdrop, former Late Show host David Letterman came under fire for some of his past interviews. Arguably, the most disturbing occurred in 1998, when he interviewed actress Jennifer Aniston, who's promoting her film Object of My Affection.
It's not as bad as I think people assume it is, but you know, there's always those odd encounters.
During their conversation, Letterman suddenly approached a visibly uncomfortable Aniston and sucked on a strand of her hair.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
He then handed her a tissue to wipe the saliva off. The veteran host was also taken to task for a 2013 interview with Lindsay Lohan, where he ambushed her with several inappropriate questions, leading her to tear up at one point.
You can't make a joke of it.
That's so mean. I'm not joking.
No, you're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Number 9, Jussie Smollett. On January 29, 2019, Empire actor Jussie Smollett reported that he had been the victim of an alleged hate crime in Chicago. Smollett claimed that 2 men had attacked him in the early hours of the morning while yelling racial and homophobic slurs at him.
Dozen detectives are pursuing new leads, including grainy photos of 2 persons of interest.
When authorities launched an investigation into the alleged attack, several inconsistencies in Smollett's story began to emerge. On February 14th, the actor discussed the incident in an interview with ABC's Robin Roberts, expressing that he was, quote, pissed off at those who doubted his story.
How can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth.
However, less than a week later, it was revealed that Smollett had indeed staged the attack, leading to his criminal indictment for filing a false police report.
Now, a grand jury on Tuesday indicted Smollett on 6 counts of disorderly conduct.
Number 8, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Back in 2004, celebrity twins Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were still teenagers when they appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show. During the interview, Winfrey brought up reports that Mary-Kate had been dealing with an eating disorder. Ashley immediately came to her defense, stating that they didn't care about what was discussed in the tabloids.
I know there's a new rumor that's recently surfaced, has really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating.
Yeah, people are going to write what they want to write.
However, Winfrey interrupted Ashley with an inappropriate question about their weight, leaving both sisters visibly surprised.
What size are you, by the way?
Size?
Yeah, I always like to know.
I'm really short.
You're not sure?
Girls, and
that's so interesting.
This was particularly disturbing given the fact that the twins were minors at the time, and Mary-Kate would seek treatment later that year for an eating disorder. When the interview resurfaced in 2021, Winfrey faced intense criticism for her handling of the situation.
How horrified Mary-Kate and her sister Ashley were when they were asked that question, and then for Oprah to laugh about it.
Number 7, Ashton Kutcher. In 2023, Hollywood couple Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis came under fire after writing letters of support for their former co-star Danny Masterson, who was convicted of sexual assault. Subsequently, one of Masterson's accusers shared a clip from a 2003 episode of Kutcher's show Punk'd, where he made a seemingly predatory comment about actress Hilary Duff. This remark made by Kutcher, who was 25 at the time, raised significant concerns about his behavior.
That we're all waiting for to turn 18.
The backlash on the actor further intensified after another clip from a 2002 interview on The Rosie O'Donnell Show resurfaced. In it, Kutcher gleefully admitted to participating in a bet with Masterson to French kiss Kunis on screen without her consent, even though she was still a minor.
So I was like, okay. Then Danny goes and goes, dude, I'll give you $10 if you French kiss her.
Number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. Talk show hosts have always found creative ways to get the scoop on the lives of their celebrity guests. But Ellen DeGeneres seemed to have crossed a line in a 2008 interview with Mariah Carey that left the singer extremely uncomfortable.
People are saying that that you're pregnant. There's rumors. Don't discuss that.
In a bid to confirm pregnancy rumors, DeGeneres offered Carey champagne and pressured her to drink it. Carey, who looked a bit uneasy, initially tried to fend her off, but eventually appeared to take a small sip. DeGeneres interpreted this as confirmation and proceeded to celebrate. However, in 2020, Carey disclosed that she wasn't ready to share the news at the time due to a previous miscarriage. Tragically, she lost the pregnancy shortly after the controversial interview.
But she says she didn't enjoy that moment.
Number 5, Matt Lauer. The Me Too movement led to the downfall of several industry heavyweights, including longtime Today host Matt Lauer. Lauer was fired by NBC in November of 2017 after allegations of, quote, inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace came to light. Following his dismissal, a peculiar 2009 interview with actress Sandra Bullock resurfaced. Bullock was there to promote her film The Proposal. only to be bombarded with remarks about her nude scenes.
The major thing that's changed since you were here last?
Yes.
I have now seen you naked.
Lauer displayed an unsettling excitement at the thought of seeing the actress naked, even adding that the image had become his screensaver.
You're naked for most of this movie.
I so
Many found this disturbing, especially in light of his sexual misconduct allegations. At the end of the interview, Lauer asks Bullock to return soon, an invitation she instantly declines.
Sandra Bullock, come back more often.
No, not after this interview.
Number 4, Ben Affleck. In the wake of the Me Too movement, many began to re-examine past behavior of celebrities that was once normalized. Enter actor and filmmaker Ben Affleck. In October of that year, actress Hillary Burton alleged that Affleck had groped her during a 2003 appearance on MTV's Total Request Live.
Yeah, he pulled that move. That's for sure. Move, yeah.
Following this allegation, the actor issued a statement apologizing for his inappropriate behavior. Shortly after, another video resurfaced from a 2004 interview with Canadian journalist Anne-Marie Lozique. In it, Affleck tightly embraces Lozique and makes suggestive comments about her body.
You know, you should work at Fox here in LA. You'd blend right in, they would love you.
At first glance, it appears highly inappropriate and raises questions about Affleck's behavior towards women. According to Lozique, however, it was all an intentional act for the cameras to boost ratings.
It was strictly for the cameras while the cameras were on. While they were off, he was actually very proper and we talked about many things.
Number 3, Britney Spears. In 2003, shortly after her high-profile split from Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears sat down with veteran TV presenter Diane Sawyer. During the interview, Sawyer asked Spears a slew of questions that would be uncomfortable for anyone to answer, let alone a 21-year-old.
Is it an addiction?
Is it an addiction? No, I don't think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, it makes me happy.
Among other topics, she grilled her about the breakup with Timberlake and also seemingly defended a statement by then First Lady of Maryland who said she would shoot Spears if given the opportunity.
Oh, that's horrible.
Well,
that's really bad.
Because of the example for kids and how hard it is to be a parent.
Needless to say, the now infamous interview felt more like an interrogation. At one point, the singer even broke down in tears. The clip ignited a wave of criticism directed at Sawyer after it was featured heavily in the 2021 documentary Framing Britney Spears.
And yet he's left the impression that you weren't faithful, that you betrayed the relationship.
I think everyone has a side to their story.
Number 2, Danny Masterson. Who knew late-night talk show hosts could predict the future? As earlier mentioned, Hollywood actor Danny Masterson made headlines in 2023 after he was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 women in the early 2000s. He received a prison sentence of 30 years to life for these crimes. Masterson's sentencing led to the discovery of an old clip from his 2004 appearance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. When asked about his lack of a Long Island accent, the actor's response was an uncomfortable joke with a vulgar undertone.
Like my friend Bodie Elfman, he always teases me and he says, "Hi, my name is Danny Masterson. Would you like to touch my balls?"
Perhaps sarcastically, O'Brien quipped that Masterson's day of reckoning would soon come. It may have taken nearly 2 decades, but that statement ultimately came to fruition.
I've heard about you. And you'll be caught soon. I know you will.
I will.
Number 1, Bill Cosby. Disgraced actor and comedian Bill Cosby has faced dozens of sexual assault allegations throughout his career. Many of his accusers claim that Cosby drugged them before committing the despicable acts. These allegations may not come as a surprise, considering that in a 1991 interview on CNN's Larry King Live, Cosby seemingly alluded to spiking people's drinks. Speaking with King, the comedian made a joke about Spanish fly, a drug used as an aphrodisiac.
We will still be searching for Spanish fly.
That's right. Cosby talked about dropping the pill in a lady's drink as a means of having one's way with her. Even King joins in on the topic, concluding Cosby's lewd joke with, "She's yours." We'd say it's a disturbing clip, but even that seems like an understatement.
And the girl would drink it and she's yours. Hello, America.
What other celeb interview do you think needs a reassessment?
Was it all right? I mean, was it hard to do? No, it just happened.
When the tell-all documentary series Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV was released, it left audiences rattled. It also left us looking at certain scenes in a completely different way.
I've been waiting for someone to question the climate. It's been a long time coming.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're looking at Nickelodeon moments mentioned in Quiet on Set that seemed like kids' stuff at the time, but in retrospect feel problematic, cringy, or downright creepy.
The show was full of like these uncomfortable sketches. I think that Dan got a kick out of walking a line with that.
Number 10. Lil Fetus, All That. Brian Christopher Hearn stood out as one of the few black cast members during his seasons on All That. Hearn got the sense that Dan Schneider favored his white co-stars.
I didn't feel close to him at all. My time on Nickelodeon played a big part in how I dealt and still deal with racial issues.
This was reflected in multiple sketches, including one where Hearn had to sell cookies as if he were a drug dealer. There were more blatant instances of racism behind the scenes.
Yo, embryo, I'm still here, gestating, waiting, and incubating.
To portray a rapper named Lil Fetus, Hearn had to wear a bodysuit that matched his skin tone. Hearn isn't sure who, but when he was being fitted, somebody said that the costume should be the same color as charcoal. A crew member could tell that this comment deeply hurt Hearn, attempting to comfort him. Hearn, nonetheless, decided against telling his mom.
I know my mom, and I know that she would have rose hell.
Number 9. In the Jacuzzi with Dan, The Amanda Show.
Dan and Amanda had a close relationship, and I didn't think anything different than that. The hot tub scene, though, I thought was always a little odd.
Amanda's Jacuzzi was a recurring sketch on The Amanda Show. Wearing a bathing suit, star Amanda Bynes would interview a fully dressed guest in the hot tub with her. Cameos included Elvis, Babe Ruth, and Amelia Earhart. It was weird, but innocent enough, except for the time Dan Schneider joined her.
And he's kind of saying, I created the situation. I am the reason we are in this hot tub. I am pulling the strings.
Like the other guests, Schneider was fully clothed, making the idea of him hot tubbing with an underage girl a little less icky. Yet it's hard to watch the scene without thinking about Schneider's real-life dynamic with Bynes, namely how he tried to help her get emancipated.
The details are a little bit murky, but we know from sources that the police were involved. And we also know that Amanda's parents are really upset with Dan's actions through this.
Schneider might not be responsible for everything that's gone wrong during Bynes' adulthood, although his impact during her childhood arguably contributed to her future struggles. Number 8. Noseboy, All That. Joining All That in Season 4, Leon Frierson appeared in memorable sketches like Leroy and Fuzz, but he looks back at a particular character with awkward memories. He played a superhero named Noseboy.
What are your special powers?
The former child star already felt exposed in a tight leotard, although a few other additions to the costume elevated the discomfort. In addition to wearing a large nose on his face, the costume's shoulder pads came with prominent noses that looked more like, well, something that should have been censored.
This is a child playing this role, and he's playing it for other children. His audience is kids as young as 6.
You could argue that we're just seeing things, but two things hammer home the innuendo. 1. Noseboy sneezes snot on people, echoing another bodily function. 2. It's a Dan Schneider show. It's safe to say he knew what he was doing.
I get to write all the scripts with some very talented writers, but I can put them in any horrible predicament I choose.
Number 7. Judge Trudy Classroom Sketch, The Amanda Show. Quiet on Set spotlights an Amanda Show sketch where Judge Trudy takes her court to a classroom. The sketch itself is harmless, but there is a darker backstory buried there.
Overruled! What part confuses you? The overruled!
The sketch included an extra named Brandy, who grew up loving Nickelodeon and was excited to get her start in the industry. During this time, Brandy was befriended by a Nickelodeon production assistant named Jason Handy.
She thought, oh, this is somebody else on the set that seemed to be so nice, and she would have a friend in the industry. I thought, oh, this is going well.
Conversing online, it appeared that Handy was just being nice and wanted to help further Brandy's career. After Brandy received an indecent image, though, it became clear that he wanted something far more depraved. Her mother initially avoided contacting the police, but the authorities eventually found that Brandy was just one of the children Handy had been inappropriate with.
There was never any apology to Brandy herself for what happened. Everything got swept under the rug.
Number 6. On-Air Dares. Snick. They made it look like so much fun on TV, but being a Nickelodeon star can come with some gross baggage. The sugar and coffee sketch is one example.
It was taxing, and frankly, like, if you look at the sketch, it's gross. Like, it would congeal into this gross, viscous goo. It was weird.
For Brian Christopher Hearn, nothing was more stomach-churning than the on-air dares. SNL for kids is one thing, although Fear Factor for kids may have been asking too much from the All That cast. In this recurring Snick bit, Hearn recalled being covered in peanut butter and having dogs lick him.
That sounds like some kind of awkward fantasy from some freaky dude. It was really uncomfortable. I didn't like that.
The visual discomfort Hearn expresses doesn't even begin to describe how he felt inside. While we wouldn't want to be in Hearn's place, we'd still probably take the peanut butter over putting a scorpion in our mouth, which was another dare.
If there's anything on set that I wish I could have yelled, stop, let's not do this, I'm out, it's still on there, dares.
Number 5. Penelope Taint, The Amanda Show.
Hey, get back in line!
Sir, apparently you don't realize who I am, please.
Amanda Bynes played an assortment of colorful characters on her show, most notably Penelope Taint. Amanda's #1 fan, Penelope is essentially a stalker. While any kid can see that Penelope isn't right in the head, her last name eluded children and even adults.
I remember someone from Nickelodeon sitting with us and saying like, oh, does this mean, you know, this dirty thing? And Dan was like, no, why would you think that?
When asked about the name's meaning, Dan Schneider said that it referred to tainting something. In reality, Penelope's surname was inspired by the area between one private part and another.
There's something so slimy about connecting this like sexualized genitalia joke with a little girl who's portraying a little girl too.
Schneider explicitly instructed the crew not to tell the higher-ups. We could imagine the censors turning a blind eye to a one-off character, but a recurring one? If you feel like this ruins your childhood, please file a complaint at www.amandaplease.com. Seriously, look it up on Internet Archive.
So, what do you guys think of my website?
Come with us.
But I'm Penelope Tate! I'm Amanda's biggest fan!
Number 4. Juicing a Potato. Victorious. Ariana Grande is such an iconic pop star that it's easy to forget she got her start as Cat Valentine on Victorious. Watching Quiet on Set, we're not sure how we forgot about some of the uncomfortably sexualized bits Grande had to partake in.
With that show, there were online extras that the network did not fully know how to deal with.
These ranged from putting tomatoes in a bra, to spilling water on her chest while on a bed, to putting her foot in her mouth. Dan Schneider shows had a lot of foot and mouth stuff. Yet, we're pretty sure that Grande was the only one asked to milk a potato. On the food chain of bad taste, potatoes might not be as suggestive as bananas or eggplant, but there's a reason why you can't do that on television.
We're adults, so we know what's going on, but this is a show for kids, so who is sexual innuendo for on a kids show?
Number 3. Something on Your Face. Zoe 101.
I really feel bad. Here, then have another goop off. Thanks.
Looking back at some moments from Zoe 101, we're inclined to ask, was that intentional? Alexa Nicholas, who played Nicole Bristow, will tell you yes.
It's appalling behavior on all the adults' behalf that day.
Nicholas recalled a particularly traumatic episode where her character accidentally squirts a tube-based snack called Goo Pop on Jamie Lynn Spears' face. One could argue that this is in the spirit of Nickelodeon's trademark slime, but the substance's shape and texture call something else to mind. We're not grasping at suggestive straws. According to Nicholas, somebody on set called out what the Goo Pop shot actually looked like. Not every young actor knew what this meant then, although they certainly do now.
I was like, oh. Wasn't funny. It still isn't funny to me, to be honest. It's just like, that's a kid.
The scene's sexualized nature is only made more uncomfortable knowing the pregnancy scandal Spears later faced. Number 2. Dan Schneider's Lifetime Achievement Award, 27th Kids' Choice Awards. In over 30 years, the Kids' Choice Awards have given out their Lifetime Achievement Prize to 2 individuals, Optimus Prime and Dan Schneider. One aged better than the other. In 2014, Nickelodeon stars from the past and present gathered to honor Schneider.
He is surrounded by so many different people from all the shows.
They're talking about how great he is.
Thank you, Dan. You're an inspiration!
Speaking about how key he was to their careers.
Having created so many hit shows for the network, Schneider seemed worthy of such praise. In only a few years, though, the public started to see Schneider in a different light.
For decades, Dan seemed like he was untouchable. But around 2017, the internet videos around Dan really started gaining momentum.
For all the careers Schneider helped launch, many felt victimized by him. Few have a lower opinion of Schneider than Jeanette McCurdy, who didn't show up to present this award. Some moments aside, we still enjoy many of these Nickelodeon shows, but we'll never look at their creator the same way again.
Dan, he behaved in a way that was pretty concerning and problematic, especially when it comes to women, and how he treated people as a boss on set.
Number 1. Pickle Boy. All that.
Look, there's Brian Peck, aka Pickle Boy.
There was something very wrong with Pickle Boy. We're not talking about the time he handed a pickle to Ray Romano through a hole, although that did push some boundaries. In addition to playing Pickle Boy, Brian Peck served as a dialogue coach on multiple Nickelodeon shows, working with young stars like Drake Bell. There were evident red flags that Peck shouldn't be anywhere near children, such as his friendship with John Wayne Gacy. Yet Bell was caught off guard as Peck allegedly groomed and assaulted him.
I was just trapped, and I had no way out.
Only sentenced to 16 months, Peck received support from famous friends at the time and even found some prominent work after his conviction. Having watched Quiet on Set, though, more people are seeing the problem with Pickle Boy.
I'll see you in hell. Okay, see you there.
Has Quiet on Set made you question any other Nickelodeon moments?
It raises some confusing questions on who to hold accountable.
We're going to end things today like we started, with a list of songs. These ones have become tragic because of, well, you guessed it, everything that we know now.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're looking at songs that have taken on a sadder meaning after their initial release. Black Star, David Bowie.
Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter.
The Starman himself shocked the world by announcing Black Star, his first studio album since 2013's The Next Day. But in typical Bowie fashion, the biggest twist was yet to come. Black Star, the album, was released on January 8th, 2016, and Bowie died on January 10th. Merely 2 days later.
How many times does an angel fall?
Having kept his battle with liver cancer a secret known only to those closest to him, Black Star's title song hits differently now that we know the circumstances of the singer's death. Pay particular attention to its cryptic, morbid lyrics, which seemingly allude to Bowie finding peace and tranquility in his final days. This calls to mind Leonard Cohen's You Want It Darker, also recorded shortly before the beloved Canadian singer-songwriter's 2016 death.
Hey, nay, I'm ready, my lord.
Scared of the Dark, Ty Dolla $ign and Lil Wayne featuring XXX Tentacion.
I'm not scared of the dark. I'm not running.
Commissioned for the soundtrack to Sony Pictures' Oscar-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Grammy winner Dwayne Lil Wayne Carter teased a special guest on Scared of the Dark, his collaboration with Ty Dolla $ign.
I'm not scared.
That guest, upon the film's release, was revealed to be late rapper XXX Tentacion. Born Jose Onfroy, the controversial artist lost his life in 2018 after a botched robbery attempt. Originally intended for the Bad Baby song Trust Me, Onfroy's verse combines typical hip-hop bravado with the dark vulnerability he was known for in his lifetime. This verse, combined with the song's empowering chorus, now makes for difficult listening.
Okay, let's do this. I'm tears I cry. Many times I swear I died. I'm trying, but it's still not right. The only time I want her tonight. I'm not scared of the dark.
I ain't no scared, I ain't no
I'm not running. No, I'm not afraid of the fall.
Yeah.
I'm Not Gonna Miss You. Glenn Campbell and the Wrecking Crew.
I'm still here, but yet I'm gone. I don't play guitar or sing my songs. It never defined who I am. The man that loved you till the end.
Legendary country singer Campbell, who was open about his worsening Alzheimer's disease in his final years, made it clear that he wouldn't die without a fight ahead of his 2017 passing. I'm Not Gonna Miss You is emblematic of the icon's refusal to give in. Recorded for and appearing prominently in the 2014 documentary Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me.
You're never gonna see it in my eyes. It's not gonna hurt me when you cry.
Nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Song and winning the Grammy for Best Country Song, this cinematic, John Lennon-esque ballad finds Campbell coming to terms with his impending death. The last song Campbell ever recorded, I'm Not Gonna Miss You, is a simple, gorgeous, and heartbreaking send-off to a long and storied career.
I'm not gonna miss you.
Grace, Jeff Buckley.
I'm not afraid to die. My fading voice sings.
Some of the greatest artists of all time, like Vincent van Gogh or Buckley's fellow troubadour Nick Drake, went underappreciated in their lifetimes. It seems fair to say that Buckley falls into this category of artists as well.
I believe my time has come.
Buckley once referred to the titular song from his 1994 album Grace, the only album he released during his life, as being about not feeling so sad about your own mortality when you have true love. The multi-talented musician's plainly spoken acceptance of his mortality and his seeming lack of fear or apprehension about exiting this mortal coil read very differently after his 1997 drowning, aged only 30, leaving mourning listeners to wonder what could have been. Nutshell, Alice in Chains.
Chase best friend alive. Face the path of time.
When asked which song most reminded him of late Alice in Chains frontman Lane Staley, the band's bassist Mike Starr responded with Nutshell, citing its poetic, vulnerable lyrics as the reason. Listening to the song, it becomes obvious as to why Starr, who passed away himself in 2011, made this particular selection.
And yet I fight this battle all alone. No one to cry to. No place to come home.
This mellow grunge tune, written by Staley, details the singer's battle with his darkest feelings. Staley later died in 2002 following years of extreme substance use issues. It's no surprise then that Jerry Cantrell, the band's guitarist and alternate lead singer, now dedicates live performances of Nutshell to both of his fallen bandmates.
If I can be my own, I feel better there.
Freebird, Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Things just couldn't be the same.
It must be remembered that this nearly 10-minute Southern rock epic, despite its hard-charging sound and legendary guitar solos, is, at its heart, a heart-wrenching ballad about being unable to conform to life and its expectations.
'Cause I'm as free as I swear I am.
Written by Alan Collins and Ronnie Van Zant, the band's guitarist and lead singer respectively, Freebird's lyrics tell the first-person story of a nomad who simply can't overcome his unchanging nature, though certainly not without regrets and reservations. While Freebird is sad enough on its own, already dedicated by the band to the late Duane Allman, it became a retroactive tribute to Lynyrd Skynyrd band members, including singer Van Zant, who died in the 1977 plane crash that temporarily ended the band.
Bye, bye, baby. It's been a sweet life. Oh, yeah, yeah. Though this feeling I can't change.
Like a Stone, Audio Slave. Chris Cornell, Audio Slave's lead singer, was, and still is, widely regarded by fans and critics alike as one of rock music's greatest, most iconic voices. Despite this, Cornell was reportedly haunted by struggles with depression, drugs, and drink for the majority of his life, dating back to as early as his teen years. These struggles came to an end in May 2017, when the Soundgarden frontman was found lifeless following a concert in Detroit. While fans will point out that Cornell was no stranger to incorporating dark, highly personal themes into his music, Like a Stone stands out in his discography in terms of how plainly it expresses those themes. Morphine, Michael Jackson. One of the King of Pop's darkest, rawest, and heaviest tunes, the Nine Inch Nails-esque Morphine finds Jackson incorporating heavy guitars and distorted drums into his sound. Fittingly enough, too, Morphine is a bitter, angry, no-holds-barred account of Jackson's feelings regarding his fame and media speculation about his controversial personal life.
Relax, this won't hurt you before I put it in.
Close your eyes and count to 10. Don't cry, I won't convert you. There's no need to dismay. Close your eyes and drift away.
The song's bridge and refrain detail Jackson's resorting to drug use as a means of numbing those feelings. The singer died in 2009 of acute propofol intoxication in what was later ruled an accidental homicide by Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal doctor. Listening in retrospect allows listeners a tragically prescient glimpse into Jackson's fragile mental state.
He's trying hard to convince her to give him more of what he had. Today he wants it twice as bad. Don't cry, I won't resent you. Yesterday you had distrust. Today he's taking twice as much.
The show must go on. Queen.
Empty spaces, what are we living for? Abandoned places, I guess we know the score. On and on, does anybody know what we are looking for?
It goes without saying that Freddie Mercury was a rock star until the very end. Released just a month before Mercury's untimely death from complications of HIV/AIDS, The Show Must Go On, in the band's characteristically bombastic style, is a gloriously defiant screw you to the Grim Reaper.
The show must go on. The show must go on. Yeah. Inside my heart is breaking. My makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on.
Written by Queen guitarist Brian May, the song does a magnificent job of capturing Mercury's indomitable spirit and interstellar charisma. His body ravaged by the disease even then, Mercury's bandmates were initially pessimistic that he would be able to pull off the vocal gymnastics it called for. In response, the rock god downed a shot of vodka and, according to May, immediately nailed it. Who else but Freddie?
Fairy tales of yesterday will grow but never die. I can fly, my friend. The show must go on. Hey, the show must go on.
Before we continue, here are a few honorable mentions. Whatever, Our Lady Peace. Chris Benoit's theme song is now inextricably tied to his complicated legacy.
Well, I'm not sure remember around with you. I'm driven by anger, and you're under attack. 'Cause I'm just climbing up slowly. I'm the one and only. I'm the wheels of the lies.
Floating in the fourth, Frightened Rabbit, alludes to the same Scottish river in which singer Scott Hutchinson's body was discovered.
Fully clothed, I'll float away. Down in the forest.
Wake Me Up, Avicii. The Swedish DJ's dance floor anthem is about not letting life slip away.
Wish that I could stay forever this young. Not afraid to close my eyes. Life's a game made for everyone, and love is the prize.
Leave out all the rest, Linkin Park.
I dreamed I was missing. You were so scared, but no one would listen, 'cause no one else cared.
A staple of the early 2000s nu metal scene, it can be argued that Linkin Park's success outside of that genre was due in part to lead singer Chester Bennington's soul-bearing, unflinching songwriting, as well as his powerhouse vocals. Phoenix, Arizona native Bennington took his own life in July 2017, 2 months after Chris Cornell's death. The two were reportedly close friends.
When my time comes, forget the one that I've done. Help me leave behind some reasons to be missed. Don't resent me, and when you're feeling
Knowing that makes it difficult then to listen to Leave Out All the Rest from the band's 2007 album Minutes to Midnight without a teary eye by the end. A plaintive, heartfelt ballad, Leave Out All the Rest implores listeners to, as hard as it can feel, remember the good times.
Keep me in your memory. Leave out all the rest. Leave out all the rest. Forgetting all the hurt inside you've learned you had so well. Pretending someone else can come and save me from myself. I can't be who you are. I can't be who you are.
Which songs break your heart when you listen to them now?
My life, I love you more.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this special look at all the things that have since turned unsettling. Thanks for watching. I've been Matt from Watch Mojo, and I'll see you next time.